Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you could find a place to sit or stand, we will get proceedings underway. Thank you very much.
Just all right. Yeah. Not really. We block. Come over here. Give me a chicken. Get these people in, it'll be alright. We're going to stand there. You're going to listen.
Okay, come on through, everybody. There's plenty of room. Don't be shy. You can sit on the chairs, you can sit on the floor, you can stand, you can lean on the bar, as I know a few of you will be familiar with. Please come on through and join us in the main club rooms area.
Doing the sound, mate. Although I could stand. I
don't want to stand too close. I feel like you're still like I should be at the back. And that's people.
I see what you're saying.
I don't feel worthy.
We're just getting the last of the stragglers in from outside, and we'll be able to get underway.
I'm not blocking anything there, am I?
You're good.
Is this yours? Oh, yeah. Look at Paddy. He's got it sweet
I don't
there.
think you should be worried about your attire, mate, when you see Dino walking in.
Yeah. Oh, that Dino.
Yeah.
Just don't get any closer with your big shoulders.
Achar ticket?
That's it. On your back space skill.
I didn't see that, Rex.
We lost.
Did you get the trifecta in the feature?
No, because I'll just sit, I can just deal there.
Paid plenty. Yeah, it's a feature.
Thanks, everyone. Good evening. Welcome. Thank you for coming along. Wonderful to see such a great turnout here tonight. Not surprising, though, given the man we are here to pay tribute to.
You're right.
My name's Jason Pine. It's a great pleasure to be here tonight to help facilitate proceedings. Just before we get underway tonight, I think many of us, in fact, I would hazard, I guess to say all of us, are just coming to terms or trying to with what's happened in the last 18 hours. It's been an horrendous time for this country, and I know that there isn't a single person who hasn't been affected by it. And given the enormous number of the Muslim faith who are involved in the game of cricket, both here in Wellington, around New Zealand, and across the world, we thought it would be appropriate to pay a small tribute by observing a moment's silence. So I'd ask you, please, I've just asked you to sit down. My apologies. Could you please be upstanding as we observe a moment's silence for the families of those affected by the unspeakably vile events of Christchurch yesterday. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed, everybody. Please take your seats.
Grab your seats, Tony. Grab your beer.
Tonight is a night of celebration, and we'd like to start by playing you a piece of music that Chloe managed to recover many years ago from a function she was at that Ewan attended. That you may have heard, you may not have heard, but I think it is a very appropriate way to start the evening tonight.
You know what's wrong with the Kiwis? Do you know what is wrong with the Kiwis? Well, I do. The Kiwis have never been the same without Ewan Chatfield. Since he's gone, they've missed him such a lot. Let's the ability to the lower order. And every now and then he plays shot. No, don't remember the time Ewan, hear the memory. Remember the time Ewan had a ball. Yep. Remember Ewan playing for New Zealand. Remember him doing anything at all. You betcha. Young Kiwis have never been the same without Ewan Chatfield. Since he's gone, they've missed him such a lot. Led stability to the lower order, and every now and then he'd play a shot. Now Ewan was ever popular with the media. His face turned up on every magazine. A man of underrated personality, and always on the lookout for a laugh. Ha 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 ha. Well, admittedly, there's the madcap Kenny Rutherford. Yes, but Ewan had that special savoir-faire. Egged on by some ever crazy teammates. I like the wacky zany Buster Martin Crow. Don't you know? And that's why the Kiwis have never been the same without Ewan Chatfield. They haven't. Since he's gone, they've missed him such a lot. I led stability to the lower order. Yep. And every now and then he'd play a shot. Thanks a lot.
There you go, the Kiwis have never been the same without Ewan Chatfield. Come and grab a seat, Ewan. We're here tonight to honour the incredible contribution of Ewan Chatfield to Nine Old Boys Cricket Club, to the game of cricket in this country. Chatty, the Nine Express patron, life member of this wonderful club, and a genuine New Zealand sporting treasure. Great to see such a big crowd in tonight. Not surprising though, after all it is Ewan. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to the other life members of Nine Old Boys Cricket Club here tonight. Also members of Ewan Chatfield's family who have travelled, some of them, to be with us, past players and friends also who have come a distance to be here. Cricket Wellington CEO Cam Mitchell, great to see you Cam, and General Manager Liz Perry. My first memory of Ewan actually was my dad took me to the Basin Reserve as a 10-year-old boy, and Wellington were batting against, I'm not sure who it was, and they lost their 8th wicket. And whoever was batting number 10, I presume it would have been Steve McGuinness or Tony Pygott, someone like that, came out to bat. And my dad said to me, wait to see what happens when they lose another wicket. And the number 11 comes in. And I didn't really understand what he was talking about. And sure enough, another wicket fell. And then the cacophony of noise that accompanied Ewan's entrance to the crease was something that I've never forgotten and have never seen since. And he immediately became a favourite of mine. I started turning up at the Basin with the DB Cricket Annuals, looking for signatures, and I picked this one out this morning, and it's the one from 1985. And in that year, Ewan was one of the 5 players of the year, and I noticed that he has signed it for me at the bottom. So obviously that was one of the days where I sprinted out during a lunch break and got you to sign a picture for me, Ewan. Tonight's going to be a night of stories, of memories, laughter, maybe a few tears as we pay tribute to the incredible career of Chats. There have been a few celebrations of his career since he announced his retirement from all cricket back in January. Tonight, though, something a bit special, a bit different, a celebration of his relationship with his club, that he joined in 1968 and has played for ever since. Has any international cricketer gone on to continue playing club cricket for as long as this man after he retired from the top level? I think we all know the answer to that. After joining 9 Old Boys in 68, Chats has become an icon of the club and the community. He's held every official position in the club except one, played every role on the field except keeping wickets. His name has become synonymous with that of 9 Old Boys, his deeds for Wellington and New Zealand earning him a place in our cricketing folklore. Humble, iconic, a special New Zealander with a special place in the hearts of Kiwi sports fans. And while he finished with international and first class and representative cricket, he never retired from all cricket and continued to play for 9 Old Boys, where his club career has now stretched for an amazing 51 years. 51 years. Sadly, though, all things do have to come to an end, so when Chatty announced his retirement from all cricket in January, we thought it fitting to come together tonight to celebrate a truly remarkable career. I've got a few questions to ask, and there's a few speakers around who want to tell some stories as well. But Ewan, it's great to have you here. Just we'll flick it on for you. What I want to know first of all is when you first picked up a cricket ball. Born in Dannyvirk, growing up, when did you first start playing this great game?
Well, Jason, is it
Up on the chin, yep, that's it.
yeah, well, I got told the other day that I didn't use it properly, so I better do it today. Well, I didn't really start playing until I went to high school. I mean, we lived out at a place called Waione, which is about an hour's drive east towards Akatea, which is halfway between Castle Point and Cape Kidnappers. And there's no such thing as schoolboy cricket. We were actually lucky to have 11 people at the school. The whole of my primary school career, I was the only one in my class. The whole. Then we got down to, I mean, they were all single teacher schools, and we got down to 3 or 4 people at schools at times because of the nature of the farming community. They come and go as whatever had to be done. But my dad was well, I'm not quite sure how we really got started, but he was quite a useful cricketer. He was in the first 11 at New Plymouth Boys High with Martin Donnelly, and they used to keep wickets, and the other would bowl. Then they'd swap over, and the other one would keep wickets while they bowled. So, but then he went away to war, and he came back, and we got this piece of land allocated to us, and which was way out in nowhere. But they did have country cricket, if you like. They had about 4 or 5 teams, and they used to play each other. And if I was short, then we would play. But we had a big enough front lawn that we could, on an angle, we could get a wicket on and a run up of about 3 or 4 paces. The wicket wasn't that great because it was a bit rough because we used to use it for rugby in the winter time. And we also used to put a few balls through the windows. And because we were so far away and the mailman only came 3 days a week, it sometimes would take 3 days to fix the window. So he got quite smart about that. He bought us a net in the end, and that fixed the window problem. So it wasn't until I went to high school that I got on my first team of my age.
So how did you come to Wellington?
Well, I was never really interested in farming, so I applied for a job down in Wingate, and I had an uncle and aunt and 4 cousins that lived in Nainai. So I came down here. I stayed with them up in Boyd Grove, up the road here, and she happened to know the secretary of the Nainai Cricket Club, and so so I came down here on Sunday, started work on Monday, signed up with Nainai on Tuesday. Went to practice on Wednesday and played on Saturday. So it was a pretty rush sort of a week. Yeah.
Well, our first speaker tonight has a connection with a club that goes back even longer than Ewan's. He started playing junior club cricket here in 1949, 70 years ago. And when he left Nainai College, he took a call from then selector Alan Cook, saying they needed a slip fielder because too many catches were going down. So he began his senior career, aged 18, batting number 11, and a specialist slips fielder. But of course there was much more than that. Before the 1962-63 season, as a 22-year-old, he was voted senior captain, a role he performed for many, many years. A feature of his batting, the high-octane running between the wickets. He and Barry Coley, particularly effective, I'm told, at taking sneaky singles and aggressive runs. He eventually retired from senior cricket after the summer of 82-83, his final game being notable, actually, for the first and only time he was ever actually run out. Please welcome Ewan's first senior captain, life member of Nine Eye Old Boys since 1984, Russ Kerr.
Well, I don't know where you...
Well, you can sit over here if you like, Russ, or in the middle, wherever you like.
Sure night, mate. As you get older, the back is not like it used to be. Don't fall off. I don't know where you got all that stuff from, Jason, but it sounded pretty good. I'll go along with whatever you said. Ewan said when he first came to Nine,
Hold it up to you. Hold up.
when Ewan first came to Nine Eye, he was boarding over the back over here, and we used to have 2 outdoor pitches with our groundsman at the time, Huey Taylor, used to make for us in the middle of the park. And it was in February 1968 that we heard that a young guy coming down from Dannyburg was going to want to play for us. And we didn't know whether he was a batsman or a bowler. We were quite well catered for bowling, but on paper our batting was reasonable, but we weren't getting enough runs, so we needed a batsman. And we heard that this guy, young guy from Dannyburg, was coming down here and wanted to play for us. And we thought, oh good, he might be a batsman. And we saw him jump the creek up the other end, and he had a bat over his shoulder with a bag hanging on the end of it, like a huckleberry fin or something like that. And he jumped the creek and came over and thought, beauty, he's a bloody batsman. And he came over, and the late Reg Alexander and I, we were selectors at the time as well. And we said to you, oh, put the pads on, you can't have a bat. He said, I'm a bowler. And we were a bit deflated by that. And coming from Dannyburg, well, most of our guys were from Nine Eye College, who had a population of, a roll of over 1,000. He was coming from Dannyburg. And anyway, we gave him a bowl, and like all young guys at the time, he tried to bowl too fast, and he was all over the place. And at that particular time, it was the second day of a 2-day game. So he couldn't play a 2-day game, so he played down at Petonia Rec in the 5th B grade. And you remembers it well. The senior side were playing also at Petonia Rec, diagonally across. And we could see this young guy from Dannyburg coming into bowl, and they were playing a team called Celtic, who were a team at the time of Polynesian extraction. And they stood there with their bats over their shoulders and their legs apart. And we were watching this young guy from Dannyburg coming into bowl of these guys. It would be a wicket. Beauty, bowled him. Next thing, the ball would be over the boundary. Well, Chatty took 6 for 36. 6 wickets and 6 sixes. There was his introduction to Nine Eye cricket as it was at the time. So the next game was a 2-day game, and he played, we put him in the 2A grade against Upper Hutt and got a few wickets. That was virtually at the end of the season. And he started off the next season playing 2nd grade, and our bowlers, the opening bowlers, were pretty strong. So the rep game was on, and Ian Wheeler at the time was our opening bowler. He got selected for the Hutt Valley side, and Ewan went up. And he got 7 for 67, I think it was, in his first senior game, and the rest is history. And from then on, he obviously played continually for the senior side. And seeing all these people here tonight reminds me, I had many other notes which I was going to say, but I'm sure there's other speakers here who will elaborate on a lot of things which would be more defining Chatty's career than me. Anyway, there's a couple of things I do want to mention, is that Ewan was much aligned for his batting. Even now I hear people in the pub and clubs and that say, oh, Chatty for his bowling was great, his batting was bad. When he played for us, his batting averages year after year were in the top grade. Top of the batting averages, because he always had these not outs. And
You guys didn't trust me.
well, Chatty was number 11, but he got automatic promotion when Russell Robinson joined the club. Mate, and he was still getting not outs. So I kept on putting him up the order, and still he was getting not outs. And one season, he had 97 runs come to the last game of the season, and he'd never had an out. So he was obviously going to be tops of the batting averages for the club. So he ran himself out in the last innings, so he topped the average with 97. Here's our team man. Opening bowler topping the batting averages. And that's for his batting, and we must remember also that he won a test series for New Zealand in his batting with Jeremy Coney. And that was a tremendous achievement, Jay. And we all think back at that one, and it was a great achievement. The only other one I would like to mention is that when we won our first championship here, we had to play Hutt. It was a final at Tuwiti Park, and whoever won that game was the first won the Hutt Valley Championship. And came to the second day, but unfortunately what had happened in the prior, we had won the bottom half of the North Island one-day series, sponsored by Schick at the time. And we were due to play Cornwall at Cornwall Park on the Sunday following the final of the Hutt Valley Championship. And that was back in mid-70s, and we tried all avenues to try and get to, it was the initial time of television of cricket in New Zealand. And we had to be, at the start of the game at Cornwall Park at 10 o'clock on the Sunday morning. And here we had a 2-day game for the final of Hutt Valley cricket at Tuwiti Park. And we tried all avenues who would take us to Auckland in time for the 10 o'clock start for television. Air New Zealand would not take us. Their flights at that time in the mid-70s finished at 6 o'clock. In the Sunday morning they didn't start at 1 o'clock, which was too late. The sponsors wouldn't charter us a plane, wouldn't afford that. So the only other option was catch the train. So I don't know if anyone can remember in the mid-70s, second class on the Rattlers through to Auckland. And here we were playing at Tuwiti Park, and we had to win the game to win the championship. First time ever in the club. We've been runners-up several times, and here was our chance. But we also had in the back of our mind, we had to be at Wellington Railway Station at 7 o'clock that night to catch the bloody train to Auckland. So Hutt kept on batting and batting. Anyway, Chatty finished up with 7 wickets, 7 for 30 something, and Kevin O'Sullivan got the other 3, and we got them out just in time. But we had the neighbours at Tuwiti Park ringing radio, the train station to hold the train for us. And they were saying, Christ, we've got deadlines to meet here, we've got passengers to pick up everywhere and drop people off. And in the end, we won the game, we won the championship. But no celebrations, we couldn't have a beer. We had cars waiting for us at Woody Park. We're all into the cars, into the Wellington railway station. Some guys still in their whites. Some changed them in the car, and away we go. We hopped on the bloody train, threw all our luggage in the guard's van, and took off. Well, those seats in second class on the railway in the mid-70s were about that thick. And it bowled half the afternoon to get 7 wickets. And he was trying to get comfortable. We had nothing to eat, nothing to drink, no celebrations at all for winning the first championship for the club. So we get to about Tawa. And he says, hey, this ain't no good. So he gets up in the luggage rack. And the guard thought, hell, here's an unruly pack of louts here from somewhere, half in their whites, half chains, half not, lying all over the place. No celebration for winning the championship for the first time. And here's a guy sleeping up in the luggage rack. So Chatty was going to be thrown out. So I don't know what he would have done if he'd thrown out of Tamanui at midnight. What would he have done?
He'd have run there.
So anyway, we finally get to Cornwall Park. We had to meet this deadline of 10 o'clock for TVN set. And we get there, we had nothing to eat, nothing to drink. We all had showers. Some were sort of semi-asleep and some were asleep. And we get out there and Graham Vivian won the toss. And of course they batted. Well, to those previous 2 or 3 goes, they were making over 300 runs. Vivian himself made 180 and won the game the weekend before us. Anyway, we got him out for 170. Chatty got 2 for 8 after bowling all day, well, not all day, but half the afternoon the day before.
It was too expensive.
And we got him out for about 170 or something. And they thought they'd lost the game. Well, we were so shattered that in between innings, we had to meet this deadline for television in New Zealand anyway. And that was the most important thing of the day. Anyway, trying to find the guys at halfway time, half were asleep, half were hiding behind the club rooms. No, I can't bat, I'm too tired. But on the way up in the train, one of our guys, unfortunately, had travel sickness. So he was the opening bat. He was in the toilet all night on the way up. We finally got there, and I think we made 70. The game was all over. I think we were all half pissed before television started. Anyway, that was it. And we flew back home, absolutely exhausted. But anyway, Chatty, you made a mockery of, with your bowling of Cornwall that day, getting 2 for 8 against those guys who were who's who of Auckland cricket at the time. And we certainly thank you for that. And just one other thing, most other times when you played for us, when you weren't on international or Wellington duties, every time you came and played in the club game, everyone lifted their game. We could all feel it. Everyone in the field, the batting, the bowling, everything just seemed to lift while your presence was on the field. And that's what the club, the team at the time,
Just a couple of things. One from Jason, where I did everything in the club apart from being secretary and wicket keeping. And you'll all be thinking, well, surely you didn't open the batting. And in actual fact, I did open the batting. And I think Showfew might have been in this game. We were following on against Tider, and I happened to be not out in the first innings. And we only had about 3 or 4 overs to bat. And so Russ says, well, you and Tails, who's our normal opener, you can open up and I'll sort of be the night watchman. Yeah, well, I did a very good job because I ran Tails out. So with this trip to Cornwall Park, I'd been negotiating with Dave Crowe, which at the time I didn't realise was the father to Martin and Jeff. But we did have problems because there was no flight early in the morning from Wellington to Wellington to Auckland. I wanted to fly to Christchurch and up to Auckland. But we had to start the game half an hour late, and they wouldn't approve it. So as Russ said, we actually finished the game before the television started. So that sort of is a bit ironic.
Brilliant. And thanks, Russ, for those memories. Terrific stuff. Obviously, after being identified for his talent, Chats played for Hutt Valley before going on to debut for Wellington in 73-74. And then on the 20th of February 1975, his Test debut against England at Eden Park. England at the end of their long and difficult tour. They'd been defeated by Australia in the Ashes, chiefly destroyed by Jeff Thompson and Dennis Lilly. Chats was holding up an end. A last wicket partnership with Jeff Howarth. English fast bowler Peter Lever decided to test Chats out with a bouncer. No helmets in those days, of course. The ball deflected from his bat, struck him on the temple, rendering him unconscious and not breathing. The English team's physio, Bernard Thomas, sprinted out and realised that Chats had swallowed his tongue. He flicked it back into place, managed to revive Chats with heart massage and mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, much to everyone's immense relief. Got a special treat for you tonight. Have a listen to Peter Lever.
I've never forgotten it, because I think one thing about it, although it wasn't an intentional thing, I've never forgotten it, because I think one thing about it, although it wasn't an intentional thing, I've never been as frightened in my life because of what happened. He's been playing that time, and then John, he must be crazy. He's gone a heck of a long time, hasn't he? Well, I'd wish him all the best. He will miss it to start with, but tell him to go sit on the boundary edge with a pint of beer in his hand. He'll enjoy that a lot more than putting his body through something that's not for old men.
What do you remember of that? Do you remember it happening?
Yeah, I do, Jason. I was missing about 3 minutes or something, but yeah, I knew I got hit. I went over to the side of because I felt a bit dizzy. Went over to the side of the wicket to make sure that, I probably wasn't thinking about it, so I don't get run out. And then I didn't know anything of what had happened until I woke up on the way to the hospital in the ambulance. And what made it a little bit easier for the ambulance staff was that I could actually remember what the team score was. I could remember what my score was, what Jeff's score was, and so on. So and it wasn't until at night when Peter and the manager.
What was your score?
21. No, it wasn't. No, it was 13, I think it was. I can't remember now. No, I think it was 13. I'm not sure. Anyway, Alec Bedster was the manager. They both came up. In actual fact, I think I made the comment that Peter actually looked worse than I was. So I had. This was in February, so I had the rest of the season off. It was only about 3 or 4 weeks, and I was given the clearance by the doctor. And at that stage I was playing for the cricket team, soccer team. And so I just started off with that. Was able to hit the ball, had no problems at all. So, some people say I'm probably better off now.
Did it ever affect you, or did it affect you after that when you batted? Did you feel trepidation facing fast bowling after that?
No, not really. I purchased a helmet, of course. Over the days before the helmet, and Indikar and Alam had got hit in Pakistan in the October of that season, and so some helmets came out, and Richard bought this. It was just a cycle helmet it was an awful looking thing, really. But anyway, it served its purpose. And I mean, Well, I used to get quite nervous when I was waiting, but once the previous week it fell and I stood up and on my way, it was just part of the game. And I've been hit on the head a few times since then.
Was there any delayed shock? Did you, once you recovered and you were back in the land of the living, did it occur to you that for 3 minutes you were physically dead?
No, not really. No. Well, I didn't know that. Yes. You did, I suppose. I don't know. I can't tell you what happened in that 3 minutes.
All right, well, our next speaker doesn't need too much of an introduction. He's a fellow legend of Wellington and New Zealand cricket, played alongside Chats many times for both teams. Debuted, first-class debut, 75-76, debuted for New Zealand in 1978. Close to 2,000 test runs in 39 tests, 11,000 first-class runs at an average of better than 40, 64 one-dayers, went on to become a New Zealand selector and has just ended his tenure as coach of the Wellington Firebirds. So would you please welcome forward Bruce Edgar.
Yes. I won't sit on it. I'll just stand here. Right, it's a real honour to be here tonight, to honour Farmer. No one's mentioned Farmer tonight, from Dannyburg. Murky. No one's mentioned that either. Chatty and Chats, so we get to that pretty quickly. We started together in 75, 76, and you hung in there until your first retirement in 88, 89. Our first game that year was at Lancaster Park against Canterbury, and that park still existed. You took 3 in the first innings, 6 in the second. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Amazing to see you. And it was more about what we just saw there. Having come off, being sconed, hit in the head, and turning up in Christchurch and bowling the way he did. He just had the cantabs on a string. The ball was on a string. The other thing about you Chats is that you rated your batting pretty highly. And we used to sit together in the Basin Reserve, the changing room there. They've moved it into the other room now, they've made it bigger. It wasn't very big for us in those days, Chats, but it was you and me, a bowler and a batter together. But you did rate yourself pretty bloody highly at number 11. And the one thing about you is you valued your wicket really highly, which was impressive. But the middle of the bat was never challenged. It was rather lonely compared to the conversation your edges were having with the reinforced tape down the side. And of the 180 runs you got in 43 tests, it's been estimated that you probably missed, maybe deliberately left, about 30% of those deliveries. We had bat sponsors. We were both looked after by Gray Nichols. And Chats was the perfect child, I'd get 4 or 5 bats a year. On demand if I needed them, if I split them. Chats's bats were having conversations between the middle and the edges, so he only used one for the whole 15 years I knew him. And the other thing about Test cricket with Chats, and we never sequenced all together, obviously before, and we'd get dropped and we'd come in and we'd move in and out, and we'd always come together, great roommates on tours. You played in 43 tests, I played 39. But in the 43 you played, and you batted 54 times, which is quite a lot. And I have to say you should be called Not Out Norman. Because you were not out 33 times, or 60% of the time that you batted. And I'd actually propose a question to Jason, to ask a question later about why. It became evident later on that he was challenging Jeff Houth and Jeremy Coney, who were our captains at the time, pushing himself, trying to bat up the order. And looking at his technical ability, I think they shared the same view. I think Chats just stayed where he was. Mate, you still look fit. You were fit in those days. You're one of the top end bloody trainers. Set a hell of an example. And you still look pretty sprightly for a bloody old bloke. a very good squash player, as we know, and someone who could run all day. And the guys just knew that. But one thing that was missing in the program was sprinting. It didn't arrive. But we knew he could run all day. In Test cricket, Chatty only took 7 catches. And he took a high percentage of those. He took 2 in one match against Australia when Richard Howley got his 9th. And we had a plan to bowl short at Hilditch. And Hilditch obliged twice, and Chats did the job beautifully. I don't think you fumbled anything, did you?
I think I made them look more difficult than they were. But we also did end Hilditch's career, though, didn't we?
Yeah. And of course, you know, the rest history, we went on to win the game, but Chats was responsible for the setup of that game. But, you know, fast bowlers in those days weren't expected to dive, if you can remember back. Can anyone recall Chats diving? I don't. And you know, he had this bloody...
Save the laundry allowance.
And I think your foot size in those days was about 14. It's probably down to 12 now that you're 68. But, you know, having size 14 clogs is a hell of a great asset when you're a fast bowler. And you know that you can use them as a last resource, especially when you're not a diver. And I know you used it to good effect on a number of occasions, Chats. Pace to the ball, as I said, you weren't a sprinter, but we knew the commitment was there. It would be fair to say that we'd often comment about how you ranged the boundary with the grace of an elderly cheetah. The passage of time changes, doesn't it? Chats. Let's get back to Wellington and our win in 78-79 over the mighty West Indies at the Hut Wreck. It was an absolute highlight for me, and it was for you. They just smashed Australia, ripped through them, came here with their tails up. They had a very good batting lineup with Haynes and Greenwich and Calacharan, so it was not a bad lineup up top. And then they had a couple of quick bowlers. They rested a couple, but they still had Holding, Garner, and the apprentice at the time called Marshall. You know about him. Ask Jeremy Coney how his arm is. Chats, you bowled out of your skin that day. And the moustache is gone, but in those days, in a lot of the photos that you saw up there, he used to go into a twitching mode. When he sensed the prey, he was going to conquer the prey. He was about to pounce. And you could see him. How you going, Chats? He was going, murky mood, doing all this, you know, get the fingers right. And you got 13 for 86. Bloody easy stuff, wasn't it? You loved the Hut Wreck. I actually liked the Hut Wreck too. We were there for 2 years. We shared a changing room. Peter Petherick, Bruce Taylor, Chats, myself. Got some old war stories from the old blokes. But you just loved bowling. And, you know, good to see Steve Woodward here as well, because he would have stood out in that bloody wind. And Chats just bowled and bowled and bowled. And I was looking up some stats, and we only played 3-day games. Now we play 4-day games. And it's absolutely unheard of that someone could actually bowl 72 overs in one game over 3 days. So he can run forever, but I don't know how quick he's going to get there. And the other guy you should ask, maybe a question for later, is Brian Seedorf. He invented the sustanuta. Standing at the back, there's a particular grip for the Hut Wreck, and if he held it a certain way, he'd go along the ground. Is that right, Brian? Perhaps we'll check that out later. Chatty Moore, we know you looked after Richard Hadley very well as a partner in crime. You understood partnership bowling. You'd work together and you'd create pressure. Is that right?
You're telling me that.
It sort of looked like that from point to cover. But we went off to England and we hadn't beaten England in England. This is 1983. And yeah, it was a hell of a game at Headingley. And Chats had only got 1 wicket in the first innings. And typically unassuming and humble, he said he was a support act. But he wasn't there for Hadley. He was there to support Cairns, who'd taken He took 10 for the match, and Jeremy Coney was bowling his little dibbly dobblers and causing havoc. And then in the second innings, Chats came on and he got 5 for 95, and he took out the openers, set the game up for us. It was a hell of a start. We thought we had a sniff, and the mo was going again. I'm in here. And it was great to see, and to see Chats, just being a great servant for the game and looking after the guys and doing the hard yards at the other end. And it was his turn. He got 5, changed the game. And I remember you asking me after the game, and we were all celebrating in the room, and there was a cast of thousands, a bit like this. Everyone just turned up and just happened to be in Leeds at the same time and celebrating with us. And it was an awesome night. But Richard Hadley's father that was there, Walter, and poor old Richard hadn't got a wicket. And Chats had done his bit, Kenzie had done his bit, Jerry had done his bit, and Walter was in tears. And Chats said to me, he said, is he upset about Richard not getting any wickets, or the fact that we've just won and we've never won before? So I suppose we'll never know the answer to that. Farmer, Murky, Chatty, Chats. On behalf of Cricket Wellington and your fellow Black Caps, funny name that, because we were never called that, maybe the New Zealand cricket team. Played with you, we salute you, mate. You're a legend, a star, very humble, always been humble, popular, it just goes without saying, massive contributor. You were recognised by our current Firebirds this year. We did some values session, and we have excellence, commitment, teamwork and passion. And one of our other, we call them board members. They're actually on boards, and it's a board that travels with us, and we have 4. And there's another board member here, which he'll remain nameless. He's just got a lot of hair on his face. And but you're with us all the way, and if you and you won't be able to see that, but these young guys in our team understand the contribution that Chats has made. And I really wanted the guys to get into the tradition of what's happened in cricket in Wellington, who has made sacrifices, given so much. And if you look at the commitment aspect, underneath it says consistent behaviour, love the hard stuff, and lead the team standards. And I think Chats has, really done that for us and our guys. Now we get guys fighting over having his board next to them because he means so much to them in the room. And I think that's a true reflection of you, Chatty, mate. And just to conclude, good luck, go well, and I bet you're back involved in cricket soon before you realise it.
Magic, Bruce, thank you. So why do you think you were not out so often? What's the reason?
You used to run me out that many places.
Well, as I said before, though, Jason, the others didn't really trust me, that I was going to hang around. So they thought, well, we'll try and make hay while the sun shines, in case, So I don't know. As soon as, as I say, I was nervous, but once the wicket fell, I got out on the park, then I just tried my best, and that's all you can do. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't.
How many first-class sixes did you hit?
2.
Yep. Tell us about those.
Both off left arm spinners. Spinner! Hey, listen, you're a foot faster than me. One was at Lancaster Park, and one was at the Basin Reserve. Right. Now, the one at the Basin Reserve was off David O'Sullivan, and it went up by the scoreboard on top of the toilets to the left-hand side of the scoreboard. And the one at Lancaster Park actually went in the same direction off Stephen Bock, just what we used to be and what was the Hadley stand. It went up there. So they were the only 2. Straight? Yeah, straight. Yeah, I used to hit straight. Not these horizontal back shots that they go on about now.
All right, well, we've heard from Bruce Edgar. We can't have Edgar without having John Wright. Righty was very keen to be here tonight, but unfortunately couldn't make it, but he has sent a little video clip for you, Chats.
Hi everybody in chats. Most of us were shocked when we heard of your retirement. We expected you to be playing well into your 80s. But now that you've made this decision, you will get the plaudits you so deserve. Goes without saying you are respected all over the cricketing world, but particularly in New Zealand, and particularly by those of us who have had the good fortune to play alongside you. You are genuinely liked and loved wherever you've gone. And not many players would have had the respect to be able to become the tour manager of the national team on that tour in the 80s when we were in England, and you managed that with great aplomb. You were respected, you had authority, and then of course you went back to playing when you got over the injury. You were always consistent. I can remember going on a short jog with you in Essex somewhere. After about 200 metres it occurred to me, I don't think he can keep this pace up. Well, after about 20 minutes, I think I'd lost sight of you. We had a debrief later in the house bar of the particular post house we were staying. But you were always consistent. You were always a great friend and a great teammate and a great competitor. And it is very fitting that your career is celebrated at Nainai this evening. I'm sorry I can't be with you, but we send all our best wishes from all of us who've played with you and congratulate you on a wonderful career. I know you won't keep out of the game, but enjoy your retirement and thanks for the memories, mate.
That test at Headingley that Bruce was talking about when he got the 5 in the second innings, one of those was a sustanuta, wasn't it? Was it Chris Tavaray just went along the ground?
Correct.
Yeah. So did Seeds teach you the sustanuta?
I could never work the sustanuta. I don't know why. No, but the wicket sort of suited me in the second innings. It was a bit of variable bounce. Some went along the ground, some took off. So it was quite nice to win a test without Richard, although he without taking any wickets, but he did get a few runs, which helped us.
Yeah, I think he got 90 odd, didn't he? And Richard got 84, I think he got 93 or something like that.
Something like that.
Couldn't keep him out of it. The other pitch, I'm sure you were trying to get on, and I can imagine the moustache twitching was at Christchurch in 83, 84 when England came over, and Pedals got the 99, and you guys made 307, something like that, and then England were bowled out twice under 100, and obviously Pedals was out there bowling. I don't know who was opening the other end, but you couldn't get on the pitch, on a pitch tailor-made for you. Were you twitching a bit, trying to get somebody's attention to get you on?
I did get a few wickets in each innings. I think Sneed's got 5 in the second, didn't he, or something? So it was sort of a battle between him and Ida, who was maybe going to open. Well, I think I did probably open, and if you didn't get a wicket in the first over, then you're off. It's a pretty tight ship because everybody, as you say, we're queuing up to bowl on a wicket that suited a lot of our bowlers. Yeah.
All right, well, while Chats was playing for Wellington and New Zealand in the 70s and 80s, the opportunities to play here at Nainai were more limited, but one of his defining characteristics was that whenever he could play for Nainai, he did play for Nainai. The Nainai Express, playing for this club, meant a lot to him. Our next speaker, although he's had a few words tonight already, I've noticed, was part of the Nainai senior team through the heart of Chatty's senior career. If there's a story to tell about the halcyon days of this cricket club and club cricket in the 80s, this is the guy to tell them. Former left-arm bowler at Nainai, one of the game's genuine characters, and you only have to look at the honours board over here. It's pretty much a benefit between these two gentlemen. Life member since 1992. Please welcome forward Russell Robinson.
Of course.
Can you stand up?
It's got to be a bloody show for sure. I'm not going to get any bloody taller now. Shipping's so uncomfortable here. I might have to be here for an hour. Yeah, thanks, Jason. I just wish I would have said left-arm spin bowler. Greg Hooper said to me that I hadn't turned a ball all my life, and I didn't have to turn one to bowl home out, so I'm only played for Hunt. I could bowl underarm and bowl into shit. Ewan John Chatfield, 68, playing with a bloody gold card. I can't believe he's playing cricket with a gold card. And he rings me and says he's going to retire. He says, can you say a few words, don't tell lies? I said, God, that's bloody unbelievable. I mean that he would tell me that. He had to tell me twice because I thought he was lying to me. But shit, we go back a long way. A long, long way. There's a couple of things to say that, I mean, he won't know. But there was an old guy sitting out here one time in a deck chair. And I had to talk to him at afternoon tea, and he said to me, you know, it's amazing. Watching you two bowl over the years, he said, a thoroughbred and a Teletubby. And I said, hang on. I said, you couldn't call Chatty a Teletubby. I said, well, how do you define thoroughbred? He said, well, he used to bowl downwind. I said, he bloody bowled downwind all the time. He said he took a run up, he ran from the fence. In fact, he actually jumped the fence of the neighbour, come flying in, 6 balls in a row, downwind, batsman shoulders, arms, everyone says, well bowled. I thought, it's got to be bloody joking. Yeah, there was this guy, I mean, he can't be God, because I knew he wasn't here, but I mean, you know, he said, and you come on the other end. And he said, you measured out your run, 3 paces. Well, in fact, there was 4 when I bowled to John Top, but I mean, 3, I bowled 3. If I could get away with it and Steve Woodward was umpiring because you couldn't see the other end, I'd have a chance. So I said, well, what do I bowl? He said, well, you bowl left arm slow. He said, it's pretty slow. I said, what do you mean? Well, he said, the batsman could often see the name of the ball, Kookaburra on it. I said, it wasn't that bloody slow. And I said, what do I bowl? He said, well, you threw the ball up in the air, close your eyes, put your hands over your ears, the ball would fly back over here and into Michael Heyman's bedroom. I said, it didn't happen very much. But looking around the room, there's quite a few guys who hit me for 6. Just a couple of stories about Chatty and I batting. I suppose if it was the Keystone Cops, I'd say yeah. I was bitterly disappointed to bat 11. Some people said it was too high. But, I batted 11, and I've said this a million times, and I didn't know whether it was Bill Johns, a groundsman, or his daughter would come out and sit on the tractor, and Chatty's up the other end. Chatty's up the other end. I walk out, and all I heard was shit. I knew it wasn't Mum and Dad because they were asleep. And it was him. The worst thing was he took off his bloody batting gloves. So he must have known it wasn't going to be long. So I actually fought him a couple of times and got a few runs. Out here we got a few, but he was a hard guy to run with. I couldn't run, but I mean he made up for me, right? I mean, you know, he bloody run all day. And I was just run, verbal-wise, you know. So we played at the Hut Week, we played Hut, and lovely team. It was Greg Hooper's here. And I'm at the non-strikers here, and Chatty comes up to me and he says, we got to score 16 or 17 in 2 overs, whatever it was anyway. I said, okay. So I'm at the non-strikers here, and he said, we got to run. I said, all right, hang on, I've just bloody come out here. So Jimmy Farrell's bowling, and his arms and legs, he's like a bloody praying mantis. He's running in from the bloody swimming baths. And I call out, Jimmy, you ready? So he comes trotting in and hurls one down to Robbie Newton. I went, yes. So I sprinted down the far end, dived in. I look up, there's bloody Chatty still standing there. So Robbie Newton picks up the ball, throws it back to Jimmy Farrell. He misses a stumps and I dived in, so I run too, and he didn't run at all. So,
but Russell, be fair that I had to take all the strike because if we were going to win this game.
Okay, that's one to you. Sorry?
I'm going to have a dig at get somebody. There's been 2 speakers up here already that have shot it.
Well, yeah, but I'm not nasty speaker. I mean, I speak the truth, okay? I wasn't the one sleeping in the bloody luggage compartment on the train. Who said that? We played at Wirraroa in Levin. Actually, it was a strange game. The chicken team were playing on the other field. Chetty and I were batting, which was unusual. Reg had just been hit in the head. And the bloody umpire put the count on. He's going 110, 111, 112, kick him, you know. So I came out to bat. I'm at the non-strikers end, and what I normally don't do is talk to the umpires because they never talk to me. So I talked to the umpire. This guy threw one up to Chatty. He hit it back. I never saw it. Someone said duck. I put my arm up, hit me on the elbow, and I retired hurt without facing the ball. So we go up to Southern Hawke's Bay, and I'll tell you something afterwards about his batting later, but Chatty could bat. All this bullshit about couldn't bat, that's an absolute lot of rubbish. And I say that, and he's a best mate of mine, but he played very well, and I think he was on 60 odd or 70 odd, maybe because it was a Danny Verkey was Scott, and because I think his father was here, and a few others. I've got a memory that Gavin was playing for the opposition, I think. So I came out to bat. He walks up to me and says, I want the strike. I said, okay, what do you want? I haven't even taken bloody centre yet. So I took centre. Well, I think I was centre. I just put my bat down, hoped to help me. Man, the guy come in, bowled, and I actually hit it. Hard to believe. The ball went down here, and I went, shit. And I went, yes. No. Sorry. He was only run out by about 15 yards. I was that bloody wrapped. It was unbelievable. A couple of things you didn't know. We got a soccer team going, and I've got a soccer team of all ex-cricketers. We had a couple of good players. We had Graham Rusco and Barry Coley and these sorts of guys. So Noddy here came along, and he wanted to play. Well, trying to find a position for him to play has to be a joke because he won't pass. He's got the ball at his feet. He run all day. So we get to Wainui anyway. I'm over the hill, and I thought, shit, there's a big crowd here. You know, because we were playing the early game, I think, from memory. And this guy, the TV camera comes up, and he says, you and Chatfield playing? I said, no, we dropped him. He says, shit, I'm going home. I said, but I'm his twin brother. So I said, listen, I'm captain, talk to me. So then Chatty comes out, you know what he's like, buddy, jumping around like a bloody beanstalk, hitting the ball. It comes up on the news, you know, Ewan Chatfield makes comeback and all this. I was waiting for Jason Pine to call him in for the bloody Phoenix. I mean, it was, you know, he was a bloody good player. But unfortunately, he had 2 left feet, which was a shame, but that's what he had. And I know he had 2 left feet because I put him down on the boundary when I'm bowling. Don't ask me why, but I mean, he was down there. And the bloody ball would come down and he'd run around the boundary. And if you ever seen on a documentary, a baby giraffe when it comes out its mother, it's on the ground and he's snapping around doing this and he's falling over. Well, I didn't know he couldn't bend down. I mean, I would have put him under the bloody helmet. But this is a true story. This one here. Many. Now nobody knows this. Nobody knows this apart from Chatty, and my parents. I got hit twice on the head. One at Rongotai College when I got flattened and finished up in hospital overnight, and one in the indoor net when we were playing Hutt Valley Wellington Java Shield, and I was pretty crook. I never had the guts to go back into a net and bat. I was scared. I was bloody frightened. The nets, it was just terrible. This guy showed all the courage in the world to come back. I admired him what he did. I cried when he could hit. I was angry that he got hit. But he showed that courage for 9-9, courage, commitment, all the time, every time he played, batted, bowled, fielded. You have a picnic out at Queen Elizabeth Park, but his kids would be lined up to bowl to him. I wasn't allowed. But it was the only chance I've got of getting a bit easier wicket. So I mean, and then Chatty would bowl to them. This is what he's like. He was like the Pied Piper. And the other time, what he did is we used to run the raffles at 9-9, getting meat packs and all these sorts of things from Lynn's dad. And I used to do the rosters. And I was crafty. I used to pick the time when Chatty was available, because I used to like doing the raffles with Chatty, because everyone would buy the tickets off Chatty, and the raffles were all over. But when he wasn't there, you go, oh, you know, can you do the raffle? Oh no. I think I did that for about 5 years. But
he only worked about 500 metres from the pub.
You. I know. Bloody hopeless, I tell you. I think it's about all really. No, I just think he's a fantastic guy. One thing I admired him for, and I had a problem, and people say it's sour grapes, but it wasn't sour grapes to me. I went in, I got picked in the Plunket Shield team in town, the Plunket Shield squad. Didn't make it. I was a bit angry of the way that I was treated and talked to by certain people in there. And I thought when Chatty went into town, he might struggle, being a guy that he is. He didn't say much, but he did the deed. He bowled well. He improved his fielding. He improved his fielding a lot, and his batting, he would never get his wicket away. He got into the culture in town. I think he changed the culture around. One guy in particular I thought was absolutely amazing in Wellington was Bruce Edgar. And I liked them as mates. They were fantastic together. But I admire Chatty for everything he did. So thank you very much, people.
Thank you. You want a right of reply on any of that, or?
Unfortunately, most of it's true.
I'll see you in 10 years' time.
10 years?
I'll be here. I don't know.
It was always interesting, Russell and I batting. I mean, it was true, all those, him and I were 10 or 11, or 11 and 10, whichever won the raffle for the day. But yeah, we did spend a lot of time bowling together, and at one stage there, I think Ray Fawcett might have been playing in this game. In actual fact, he might have been captain when I actually got through my overs quicker than Russell, and Russell only bowled off 3. It was getting dark, and both teams had a chance of winning. So, but we had to bowl the overs, as many overs as we could to get it through. But I think in the end we couldn't quite make it. But we were racing through them at about a minute and a half each.
All right, well, as we mentioned before, over Chat's years with the club, he's held every official office apart from club secretary, also every role in the senior team, including, as you mentioned before, opening the batting, but never keeping wickets. One guy who did keep wickets, unfortunately not for Nine-Eye, is arguably New Zealand's finest ever wicketkeeper, Ian Smith. Now, he wasn't able to make it tonight. He was obviously scheduled to be in Christchurch for the Test match, but he had this to say when we put a camera in front of him last week.
Chats, I hope you're having a great evening with your fellow Nine-Eye teammates, and I understand there's a few ex-New Zealand boys with you as well, and I'd like this opportunity to just contribute a wee bit. I got, I think, 26 or 27% of your dismissals, which I guess would give me the opportunity to get at least one corporate cab fare free of charge, but I would imagine there's more chance of shitting in the Queen's hat than that happening. So I won't press on with that. What I will say is that I think I took the most valuable catch off you, which was the last one when we got Javid Mendat at Eden Park for 271. I'm pretty sure that he was heading for the world record that day, so to get him and watch his anguish as he left was particularly satisfying, considering he'd been batting out there for 11 hours. So here at the Basin, and it was always a situation where we might get beaten up around the world, but we'd always say, wait till Chats gets you at the Basin Reserve, we'll get you that day, that will be our day. Absolutely outstanding. Sorry, it
wasn't even watching. G'day, Chats. G'day, Chats. How are you, mate? Sorry about that, I interrupted. You were halfway through your spell. It was a good spell too.
Right, we'll move on through. This how television works these days. So yeah, fantastic, Chats. I loved every minute of that partnership with Jerry. Of course, I was out, couldn't contribute much more, but what the people at home will never know is that Lance was poleaxed on the floor after he'd been hit. There was no way in the world that he would have been going out to bat, so you were the last chance saloon, and man, what a saloon you were that day. It was the most incredibly tense afternoon or session of cricket that I think I've ever been part of in terms of a run chase. It was so fulfilling, and I know it's very special to you. But there's 100 stories I could tell about you, and most of them would embarrass you in front of your friends, so I won't bother. But I know you're a man of few words. I know that one night we had, after Sir Richard Hadley was knighted in England, we had a beer at the bar, and after about 2 hours, Richard Hadley said, gee, I wonder if the drinks are any cheaper now that I'm knighted. And you said to him very quickly, I don't know, but it'd be fucking nice if we found out at some stage. And I think that pretty much summed you up. Very dry, very clever, a man of real taste, particularly ice cream. And if we had ice cream at lunch and it was good ice cream, then you generally bowled well in the afternoon. I just think that spell you bowled when paddles got shitty with Jerry at Christchurch in 1987, and you took over and got the top 4 of the West Indies out, set up that test win for us. I think was probably your most memorable spell, because you just assumed if Richard wasn't going to be part of it, you would have to be, and you took the mantle on yourself, and I think that also summed you up pretty well. Well, have a great night amongst everybody. I can only sum it up by saying this very simply, that for the most part Hadley would not have been Hadley if Chatfield hadn't been Chatfield.
Brilliant. So Paddle's not fond of buying a drink?
We had 1 or 2 of those in the team. Jerry was probably the worst. Bob Vance got wary of it and refused to give him his captain's allowances after a while. When Bob went home and Bruce and I were in charge of finances, then we brought out the captain's allowances again.
Just on that test in Dunedin, the book that I've got here, just want to read a little bit about this that game. It was the one in Carisbrook. New Zealand need 278 to beat Pakistan. Lance Kent gets sconned, he can't bat. Brendan Bracewell comes out and goes. Chats comes in, 50 needed. I'll read from Don Neely's book here. When Chatfield came out to join Coney, New Zealand's prospects looked gloomy. No one doubted Chatfield's resolve. It was his record which caused concern. In 19 tests, he had accumulated 92 runs at 9.2. The more optimistic would have pointed out that he had been not out 14 times in 24 innings. It goes on and carries on with Coney and Chatfield batting together. Chatfield walked a tightrope, playing and missing now and then, being hit on the body, presenting a broad defensive bat, picking up valuable 1s and 2s. The 2 Wellington players had more consultations than one would see in a month of the young doctors. Chatfield remained centre stage, facing 84 balls of the 132 they shared. And eventually, of course, you went on to win the test match. When you went out there that day, was the plan for you to face as often as you did?
No. did understand why Jerry was an English teacher and not a maths teacher. No, the plan was that we were going to take a single off the fourth ball of every over, and that I would have to face 2. But as time went on, that didn't work. I don't know why it didn't work. I don't know whether we both believed that we could actually do what we was trying to set out to do. And I'm pretty sure that Jerry didn't, and all he was trying to do was get his 100 and then get a red anchor. Well, for cricketers means get a not out, because generally it'd been the other way around. I would have had the not out. But yeah, things went on, and I mean, Java didn't really do a great job as a captain, I didn't think, because he set the field back and expected Jerry to, for us to take the singles all the time, and we just didn't. We sucked them in a bit in a way. So they should have really, alternated it, put them out, brought them in, and tried to get Jerry to play. If we wanted to win the game, Jerry was the one that was going to have to do it, and try and get him to hit through the field and get him to make a mistake, not me. And it was also helped a little bit by Fred after Bosley Macram, who happened to be his first test and became one of the better bowlers in the world. After he hit me on the head a couple of times, Fred got into the act and said, well, it's the old story, you're not meant to bowl. But he bounces to number 11 batters, and of course Jarvid wasn't very happy, and he was bungling away in something that we couldn't understand. It just went on and on and on and on. And a tea break, I thought, well, tea break, I didn't really want a break because it was going to break my concentration and whatever. As you've probably all seen the Dilmah Tea Party, and it's my last cup of tea that I ever had, and most of it ended up on the floor because I was so nervous that I couldn't drink it. And then after things went on, I think Jerry got dropped soon after the play resumed after afternoon tea, and then my bat actually happened to get in the way of the ball, and I went through mid-wicket for 4. And that got us down into single figures. And I thought, oh no, I've come all this way, and I'll bloody stuff it up. So I went down to Jerry and I says, listen, Jerry, I says, I'm stuffed. I'm mentally stuffed. I've had enough. You're the bloody batter. You get the runs.
And he did fantastic. All right, next up.
But the worst thing about it was that these other my teammates, I came off and Peter Williams wanted to do the TV commentator. So I went off and did that, came back and the dressing room was empty. They'd all booked their bloody flights home because they didn't believe that the game was going to go on so long. And they left me in Dunedin on my own. And I must admit, I had long pockets that night. I didn't have to buy too many beers, but bloody Lindsay Yo rang me up at 6:30 in the morning. And I sort of boobled something about, ring me back later, Lindsay.
Yeah, I'm sure you were looked after by the Dunedin locals that night. Our next speaker has had a long time involvement with Hutt Valley cricket, stalwart of Hutt District, so no one's perfect. His special relationship with Chats evolved through the leadership of the Hutt Valley team that won the Hawke Cup. He managed and selected the Hutt Valley team for many years with Ewan, and the pair went on to be selectors for the Wellington Firebirds as well. Please welcome forward Greg Hooper.
I do. Boy, you got to read notes.
Notes.
When you get old, you you start to forget. No, I'm you're standing. Yeah. You start to feel, you forget things. So, Russell, I'd be the first Hutt District's player to speak in the 9i club rooms. And I've got the last reply.
Nice to see you, Greg.
And Russell, I know this is Ewan's evening, but I remember I used to bat 11 for Hutt when I started in the same year as Ewan started, and I can remember Artie, we were playing 9 at the Hutt Rec and we only needed 70 to win in the 4th innings, and Artie said, who wants to open? And I said,
Oh, I will. Too bloody right. Russell Robinson will be on. It's going to turn. So I opened, and I think Russell Vogtha and I opened, and yes, we got him done down. and Russell did open the batting.
Thanks, Greg.
bowling. Let me... I'm going to talk to you tonight about probably things that a lot of you haven't heard, not even in the Nine Eye Club. I first started, as I said, with Ewan and for Hutt in '68, and the first thing I remember really of Ewan before we'd really met was that I was either number 2 or number 3 in his first hat trick. And I can tell you it didn't hit leg and it didn't hit off. Took middle out of the ground, and I think he actually told me, in a couple of quiet words when he came down the wicket, to leave the ground. Before I came out to bat, I'd said to my the Hutt guys who were on the sideline there, don't worry, I'll look after it, and if I get out first ball, I'll resign. So when I got back, the paper was waiting to sign. In those days, Nine Eye, and yet Russell didn't talk a lot about this, but Nine Eye had a really, really good team. And Russell Kerr, Ian Taylor, Gary Murphy, Chats, and I'm probably going to miss a few there. And they had an outstanding team, and it was always a tremendous competition between Hutt and Nine Eye. So I played against Ewan a few times after I went to CD to Wanganui to manage Winstones, and we had a good competition against each other in those years. And we met up really when I came back to Wellington in '87. I played a few more years before I retired, and Ewan and I had been talking quite a bit in those years about, the Hutt Valley players didn't get the opportunities, and for Wellington and we could, perhaps do something about this with the experience that we've had over the years. So in '93 we teamed up and coached and selected the Hutt Valley side that played in the Hawke Cup and played in a lot of elimination games. And in the first few years, Ewan was still playing. And we used to go away on a Friday night, travel to New Plymouth, get up there, bowl 118 overs on the first day and 118 overs on the second day, and then drive home after the play on the Sunday. So it was pretty tough going, but we made it. We made it through, and we were very successful. The two of us wanted to. We weren't doing this for ourselves. We were doing this. We wanted to see the young players get the opportunities and go on to play for Wellington and then on to New Zealand. And we sort of worked out that this was the best way. Ewan was the batting coach, as you've heard tonight, and I was the bowling coach. And we had a very good bowling attack. Dave Little, Ricky Roach and Glenn Jonas. They're our three seamers in the initial years, outstanding bowlers. And we had a great batting lineup with the Blackmores and a few others in that side as well. And we got through the elimination games. They were very tough, and we ended up going to Nelson to challenge for the Hawke Cup. And this first game, this first challenge, because we had three challenges for the Hawke Cup before we actually got it. And we went down to Nelson, and Ewan was actually playing in the side, and I don't know whether he'd be too happy about me telling the story tonight, but we flew down on the Friday afternoon, and Friday night we decided, Ewan and I were pretty strong on the discipline. We'd go down to the park and we'd have a bit of a run around, do a bit of fielding, bit of catching, a few warm-ups. So down we go, and we're in a bit of a circle around there doing some warm-ups, and we're in our shorts and that, and Ewan looked across the circle and saw Glenn Jonas and said, "Where did you get those legs, Glenn?" And Glenn sort of slowly looked up and looked at Ewan and he said, "You might have been the 9-hour express, but now you're the Varicus train." and I don't think it was cruel. Glenn didn't, because he took off down the park with Ewan chasing him. This game turned out to be Ewan's last rep game. And we played, it was a southerly breeze that we had, quite a strong southerly breeze. And of course Ewan bowled into it. And you know what, what Ewan's like, his commitment and all those things were always at the top of the agenda. And he bowled all day. And I can't remember the number of overs he had bowled, but he was finally at the top of his bowling mark, and he had to bowl the last ball of an over. And he's standing at the end of the bowling mark, way back from the umpire. The umpire's fronted up, waiting. And I'm on the sideline. I looked at Ewan, and he was just standing there. So I thought, bugger this. We've had enough, this is too much, you're going to kill yourself here. So anyway, I ran onto the field, which you're not meant to do. But I ran onto the field, ran up to Ewan, took the ball out of his hand and threw it to the umpire and said to the captain, "Find another bowler." And Ewan and I just sort of walked off together with my arm round holding his shoulder, and we got him out and got him into the dressing shed. So, and that was the Ewan Chatfield that I always knew, that he was so committed to being, doing everything the best he could. And he had just gone one step too far. He wouldn't let us take him to the hospital. He should have gone to the hospital, but he wouldn't let us. And he said in the changing shed at Stumps that night at about 6:30, after we bowled another 118 overs, "That's it, lads, I think I'm finished." And that's how he finished his representative career for Hutt Valley. Yeah, well, representative career for New Zealand, Hutt Valley and Wellington. The other thing on our journeys in the Hawke Cup, we were at Levin at Wairoa Domain playing Horowhenua. There was lunch on the Saturday, and we went into lunch, and the sports roundup was on the radio. They had one of these old radios with a big speaker on it, and it was playing away there. And so all of a sudden on came this recording of Ewan Chatfield being hit by Peter Lieber at Eden Park. And Ewan had never heard this. So the whole room sat quietly for the next 25 minutes or 30 minutes, and we all listened to the story. And that's really the first time that Ewan actually had found out exactly what had happened and who had run on and who had done all the bits and pieces. So very interesting time to hear it like that so many years later. We had we had some great years together. I mean, he's been magnificent to work with. I don't think we ever had an argument. We might have disagreed over one or two players, but we never had an argument in the whole time we worked together. We both had the same goal. We wanted to see young guys succeed. We wanted to win. And to the extent that we wanted to win, is we were again at Horowhenua a few years later, and we batted all the first day in quite hot conditions, and then we bowled Horowhenua out by lunch in 35 degrees. And the players came off and thought, that's enough, we got the first innings points, we're going home. Ewan looked at me and I looked at Ewan, and Ewan said, hang on a minute, lads, you just get back out there. You've got to win this game outright. So in 35 degrees, boys trooped out, moaning and groaning, but we got another outright. In fact, those outright points helped us actually get a challenge. So fantastic. The idea was, and we had some, Ian O'Brien and Chris Nevin obviously got to play for New Zealand, but we had a lot of players that played for us together, who got to Wellington and were outstanding cricketers, and fantastic years, and to see them succeed was everything. He was a tremendous player, and when you go back, and we all know that, and we've heard about his record. But those years that we worked together for the Hutt Valley, I was going to say Hutt Districts, but for Hutt Valley, were really enjoyable. They were hard. They were they took a lot of effort. We were away a lot. Our families suffered, and it was a lot of cricket. But in the end, we saw all these players make the Wellington side, make New Zealand and all that, and that's what we were there for. And that went on until finally, we won that Hawke Cup. We defended it and defended it the next year after that, and then we got these players into the Wellington side, and it ended up with players on our side that weren't quite up to it in that sort of cricket, and we ended up losing it. But we achieved what we wanted to achieve, and it's been not only an honour, but a privilege to have worked with Ewan. It's been an honour to have played against him, and it's been an honour to have him as a friend, and I mean a friend, and we've had some magnificent years together in the cricket world. And Ewan, I hope that you do get involved in cricket in the future. I know it's easy, and we're getting old, and it's easy to go and sit down, but get involved. You would have been a great selector with Wellington if the truck hadn't got in the way and you had to do deliveries on a Saturday. So it's great to be here tonight. It's been a real privilege to be asked, as I said, and also for a Hutt Districts player to have the last say at Nine-Night. Man. Artie, Dick and George McConnell will be really pleased. So thank you very much.
No, it was actually one of those Hawke Cup challenge games we had in Nelson where the mo went missing. I had to come home on the Sunday night because they were 3-day games, and I came home on the Sunday night. I had to work, and we won that, and we then met in the Bellevue on the way home, and the guys were sort of pretty tanked up at that stage, for having a great win, and so they got me on. Dragged me down, well, they might have dragged Hoops down first, I think, and cut one of his eyebrows off. And then they got me down and cut the middle out of my mo. And I thought, geez, it looks a bit like bloody Adolf Hitler. I don't really want to look like that. So I had to chop the whole lot off then, and then somebody said, oh, well, you look a lot younger now. So I thought, oh, that's it, no more mo. But, I mean, the Hawke Cup brought the worst of it out of us. I mean, it was great cricket, and we played the Hawke's Bays and the Manawatu's and the Taranakis who were very jealous of us, and because we generally got a challenge every year. And in '99, when Hutt Valley and Wellington joined, and we were out of the minor associations, I think all those guys jumped for joy because they couldn't get us out fast enough. But we had a lot of funny games. One game challenge in Nelson it was the only game that I've seen that got very close to a punch-up. We got a first innings lead of about 20, because that's all you needed as a first innings lead. And they had two local umpires, and they got in the game. And so did Nora, did he turn up, Ricky? But anyway, he got runs in the first. There's Nora Brody got runs in the first innings. He got none in the second. The other guy that got runs in the first got none in the second. So, and then when we came to bowl, we got their main batter, Wayne Hodson, caught at second slip and given out, not out. And things got a bit heated, and I had to get in. Robbie Smith was captain. I had to get in between him and the umpire to stop any blows, because it got very close. It was just plain out and out cheating, really. But there was one good thing that came out. It was the last challenge of the year, and from then on they had neutral umpires. So something actually good out of it, but it was the first time at Hutt Valley it looked like winning the Hawke Cup for a long time. we had a game against Hawke's Bay up there where all you had to do was win on it once. It was a first innings game played over 2 days, and generally when the first innings was accomplished, you all went home. But this particular game, Hawke's Bay sort of wanted to bat on and have practice, and there was 3 of us had to Huey, I think you were one. 3 of us had to drive to Gisborne overnight to play for Wellington. In Gisborne, and so we were quite keen to get away as quick as we could. So, they batted on till tea time, and we thought that the game would be called off, and it wasn't. So, I mean, today we probably would have got suspended for bringing the game into disrepute. But at the drinks break, we took on some fruit, and Bruce Smith started off by, he wasn't the most picturesque player around, but he took out his teeth, and even worse, and he gave them to the umpire to hang on to, and the umpire was not impressed. So then he went down and put him, on the ground as a marker. So after a few overs, we brought these fruit out and bowled these fruit, tomatoes, and the guys were trying to, because it looked like a red ball, and they tried to smash them and just splattered everywhere. Anyway, so we got Ewan McSweeney was part of Hawke's Bay those days, and he was, later become a valuable team member of mine. So he was only a young 17, 18-year-old, and anyway, he succumbed to this vegetable attack and got out. And then when the next guy came in was Dougie Morland, and he's an old campaigner for CD. Anyway, he takes his guard, asks for middle or something, whatever he took, and then was heard to ask the umpire how many vegetables to come. Well, I mean, we had games against Taranaki when we got 220 or something like that, and they were 5 for 50 overnight. And the next day we got the guy caught, I can't remember, was it slip or somewhere, just at the same time. It was when the gas fields were being built, just at the same time as the bloody helicopter flew over, and the guy couldn't hear the nick, and he went on and got 116, and somebody else got 60 odd, and we finished second. At Invercargill, we could never win. We've been down there a few times and played on the Queen's Park Oval where Jack Alabaster and Robert Smith was playing. Robert Anderson, he used to open the batting and score 100, and then the Alabaster brothers used to bowl us out. So on this particular day, we thought, well, the only way we were going to win this game was, it was meant to rain. The only way we could win this game was to get rid of the covers. So we, at about midnight, we summoned 8 out of bed. We were staying at a hotel quite near. We had to go to the Queen's Park Golf Club. On the thing, we put one guy on each corner of the ground, the sentry, and then the 4 of us whipped the bails off. The covers off, and they would put them up against the fence at one end. And then all of a sudden, as we were doing that, one of the sentries yelled out that there was somebody coming through the golf course. So we were off. And anyway, it turned out that they were only the sheep that were walking through the golf course, but they couldn't work out next morning. But it didn't rain, unfortunately, it didn't rain, and there was no wind, but the covers were up against the fence, and they could never work out why that happened. So, because the game was over 2 days, there was pretty competitive games, and against Manawatu, the game went into the third day because we could get a result, and unfortunately, one of the umpires was a first-class umpire. He had to go back to school teaching, and a local umpire took over. He had been a first-class umpire, but he's also chairman of the local umpiring association. He came out, and we got them. We needed 1 wicket, and they needed 1 run, and the umpire gave it as a hit down the fine leg, and no way it ever hit the bat. So when the game was over, Keith Smith was our selector manager. He went up to the umpires and said that ball wasn't hit, and the umpire agreed. So if it wasn't hit the pad was in front of the stump. So we were sort of robbed a little bit in that. But we used to have a lot of fun. I mean, it was. And this was one of the reasons why I never ever left Nine Eye, because I thought you know, a lot of other Hutt Valley players went into Wellington to get more exposure against, you know, the Wellington selectors. I never did because I thought that playing Hawk Cup and bowling 100 overs before Christmas time was more important than going into town. You know, and I think I justified that in the end.
Good on you, mate.
There we go for time. All right, we do have, and I say this with a bit of trepidation, a small amount of time if anybody would like to, off the cuff, say a couple of words, tell a story or pay a tribute. We've allowed a little bit of time for that. Russ, you've already been up, but that's okay. Come on back, mate.
I want to say one thing, okay? I'm not taking it out, but...
Stand up.
Yeah, there's one thing. When Chatty didn't play for us, sometimes it was an absolute blessing because what would happen is that Russ Kerr would take the catches out here. We have a few catches and a sit down, but when Chatty came back, this was like a regiment. We'd all have to go out, do exercises. He'd get us outside. He'd go right hamstrings. I'd say, shit, I think they're in my bag. I'm not sure. and he'd say quads. And I couldn't spell that. And then he'd say run sideways. Well, I couldn't run bloody frontways. I mean, he's going up and down here. So, I mean, to me, it was an absolute blessing. Some games, he was good. But he did the same. Up in Fitzherbert Park in Palmerston North, we played Manawatu up there. Shove played. He got us running through bloody Fitzherbert Park the day before the game. And he's racing up there and he looks around, none of us are there. We're all hiding behind the trees. So he was good, but he was a pain in the arse sometimes.
Going away, I think that was one of the worst things that Hutt Valley... Hold on, just wait. Take a seat. Good man. The Hutt Valley fellas hated me with the warm-ups because I used, because I could run right, even though I was an old fella. We used to go on some tremendous runs through the trees and through the bushes and through the things. In pre-season, I always threatened them with a Wainui Hill, but I chickened out in the end. But we used to leave the Hutt Rec and run down Cuba Street and along Marine Parade and back up Randwick Road. And some of them worked out that they would take a shortcut across the bloody railway bridge and hide behind the trees there until they saw me go past, and then they'd come out. And I wondered why. You know, I knew who the good runners were and who the bad runners were, and I wondered why some of the bad runners got there, not behind. But anyway, I found out in the end. But, well, at least I got you through, Russell. You didn't get injured, eh? The warm-ups must have been good.
Yeah, all I'd like to say is, I was there to see Chat get his first class wicket in 1973, wasn't it? Yep. Yeah, and I was 12th man at the time, but, I played a lot of games with Chats, and one of the things that I couldn't believe was his consistency. His line and length was just immaculate. There were games that we were playing on a Seddon Park pitch, which is a minefield, like a graveyard for any bowler. But Chats would hit the same spot. I swear, I was fielding at Silly Madon. He hit the same spot so many times that he created undulations in the wicket. He made his own undulations, and he was just incredible. He could just bowl and hit the same line and length on all sorts of wickets. So if I was going to war, he'd be the guy I'd want to go with.
Just saying that the first game I played Canterbury and I only got a wicket. Then we went to New Plymouth and I got a couple of wickets in there. And I found out years later that I was actually meant to get dropped after that game, but I was unlucky, whatever you like, that Bruce Taylor got injured in the game at New Plymouth, and I had to play against Otago, and I got 13 wickets in that game, and that did. I mean, who knows if I'd been 12th man then? You got to take these lucky breaks when you get them.
Absolutely. Anybody else? We've got a couple? Yep, we've got a couple. 1, 2, 3, all up. Okay.
Hi everybody, Steve McGuinness. I was fortunate enough to be the partner of Ewan for the Moor chats for many years, and he taught me a hell of a lot. I recall coming into the side, Wellington side, and being a bit like a possum in headlights, and he took me under his wing. He roomed with me at the beginning, and I always remember watching him, and you know, he'd get a rough decision, a guy play and miss, he'd nick it through the slips, and he'd just stand there and he'd walk back and go back and bowl another one. And that's what Ewan did. He just kept coming back for more. And I want to thank him personally for everything he did for me. I don't think I would have had the success that I had without him at the other end, definitely. But you know, he taught me a lot about the game, perseverance, never giving up, and putting in 110%. So for that, I thank him a lot.
Well, Ewan, it's a great pleasure and an honour to be here tonight, and it doesn't need me to say it, but everyone here thinks a hell of a lot of you, and both as a sportsman and as a person. But I do remember playing against you in '68 at Te Wiri Park. You'd only just come down here, and you're a tall string bean, sort of a quick bowler, and Siege is quite right. You know, you're pretty much Johnny on the spot, and everything. There's nothing really I can add in terms of the technical ways in which you played the game and presented yourself. You are a true sportsman, and I just, at least from a competitor and occasionally a fellow player, it's been a pleasure to play with. But just one thought, which the other night I was sitting down here thinking to myself, Jesus, 50 years, you know, and then I sort of, now these numbers aren't official, of course, they just run out of my head, but I thought, there's over 500 games you must have played for Nine in all levels of the club. And then I thought, well, how many overs do you reckon he bowled? And I sort of, well, I come up with around about 30,000 overs. And then I converted that into wickets, and Clary Grimmett took over 5 wickets per test match. But this is not test matches, this is club. And if you look at that board up there, you've got 7, 8, 9 wickets, whatever, pretty regularly. So I turned that into about 4,000 wickets in relation to the number of games you play. You know, and this starts, when you start thinking about this, the numbers don't have to be exact, but you get a perception here of what this guy's all about. And then I turned that into the number of balls bowled. And that got up to something like 200,000. Jesus, 200,000. And then if you turn that, hang on a minute, let's not get carried away here, because you bowl off around about 13 or 14 yards, would that be about right? Yep. And I converted that into yards, and we're over 2 million. And then I divided that by 760, and it came out at 11, well, near enough to 2,000 miles. So he's been up to North Cape to the Bluff and back again, and that's just for his club. Think about that. You are a tremendous sportsman. And thank you very much.
Cheers, Graham. You obviously didn't go to Nine College because we could never calculate that. Hey, great to see a whole lot of people. I'm sure you've seen a lot of your friends and old playmates. None of my friends have turned up tonight, but that's all right. Just want to quickly say something. I'm sure there are people that we have seen here, and there are a lot of people that aren't here for whatever reason. So let's just raise our glass to all the people that aren't here. Yeah. Cheers, mate. And I'm going to say Coco and Reg, because they're people. By now, Coco would have had his teeth out and put them in someone's beer, so we wouldn't do that. Look, there's a couple of things I do want to say. There's one story of Hutt Valley cricket that you don't know, but we do have Hutt Valley and Wellington cricket royalty here. And Chats, we have the royalty here, and you're such a loved person. We also have people that are at the other end of the scale, and I'd just like to welcome the guys from Taita. Well done. Look, the other thing that's really special is Jason Pine. Let's give Piney a bloody clap. What a fantastic. Piney, just before I came up, I was given a list of apologies, and the people that couldn't make it today, who were all invited to be the MC, were Brian Waddle, Keith Quinn, Judy Bailey, Grant Nisbet, John Hawksby. There's about 20 others, but the ones that really struck me that were invited were Homer Bart and Lisa Simpson. Homer said Madge wouldn't let Lisa and Bart come out, but he had to work at the plant tonight. That's the reason he's not here. Piney, I know you have staff down in Canterbury and you would have been worried about them, so our thoughts are with them. And the great job that you guys do promoting sport throughout New Zealand for radio sport. So how about another hand? We heard Bruce Edgar talk about the Hut Rec and playing at the Hut Rec. And I seem to remember that we did get an odd game before the Basin Reserve was being redeveloped. On one of these occasions, the Wellington team had been playing and the boys needed to get back to Wellington. They took a car because in those days, remember, when Chatty first started playing, there was no real pay of payments. There might have been an allowance. They didn't get much, and every cent that they had actually came from the jobs that they had, Abbott Industries, wasn't it? So anyway, Chats was one of the people in the vehicle. There was about, in those days they didn't worry about seat belts, so there was about 8 of them in the car. And if you remember, we had carless days. Remember carless days? And petrol stations closed. Got to about midday and you couldn't get petrol. Well, of course, this was about 6:30 at night. So they're driving away and they get as far as the Hut Park Hotel. The car conks out. So what do? They send one of the younger boys away to go and try to find some petrol. And in those days you had to go to the policeman's house and get a can so you could fill it. That's how carless days were, if you remember. So they went into the Hut Park Hotel. Now one of the great things about the Hut Park Hotel, it's a famous sporting pub. They have on the front door, just as you're going in, please leave your hockey sticks, baseball bats, cricket bats and shotguns outside before you come in. So in they went. The teams that played there wore slightly different kinds of stuff. They had patches on their back and they split either side of the hotel. In walk our Wellington boys. Chatty one of them. They go up and get a beer, come back, and Chatty has to go to the toilet. Now you remember in those days they didn't get paid pretty much anything. And in those days for the younger guys here, $20 was a hell of a lot of money. Chatty had 2 young kids, was paying a mortgage, and as he walked up to the toilet, 2 $10 notes fell out of his back pocket. Everybody in the pub honed in on those two $10 notes. As mongrel mob, black power, you name it, went to go for it, one person from Chatty's table rushed up, pushed them all aside, dived down and grabbed those 2 $10 notes. Now that was an act of bravery for a teammate. Ladies and gentlemen, Alan Hewson. And I would just like to say, Ewan, at your 40th year for the club, I told you that Martin pushed you in the pool. Someone nicked your caps. Today I can say Alan Hewson saved you $20, and if you ask him nicely tonight, he'll give it back to you.
All right, we're now going to welcome forward club president Aaron Clee. He's going to say a few words on behalf of the club and make a very special presentation to Ewan.
Thanks, Jason. And just wanted to welcome you all, everyone here, on behalf of the club, and thank you for coming along. You've all had some association with Chats, either as a teammate in the opposition or as a supporter, and so it's great to welcome you all to Nine tonight. I'd also just like to give Jason a small token of our appreciation for your time tonight.
Thanks, Aaron. That's very nice of you. Thank you, mate.
All clubs have all clubs have special people, and whatever club that you belong to or have belonged to in the past, there are special people that are involved in clubs, and we're no different. Clubs are built by special people, and that's what makes things tick. We can honestly say that Chatty's the special person of this club. He's been, as we know, here for 50 odd years, and this club wouldn't have survived for the 73 years that's been going without Chatty being here. And I think we can honestly say that. He's the true legend of our club. He's the icon. He's the talisman. He's the hero that we all looked up to and supported in his international days. And he's done that through 5 decades, which is something amazing and remarkable. And really, it's impossible to find the right words to try and describe the impact that Chatty's had on this club. I don't think any words would kind of do it justice. He inspires the rest of us, and he inspires the club still today to keep doing what we're doing and running this place and still maintaining a fantastic facility that we've got here. But what's really rare as a former international to still have such a strong role to play in a club. We're lucky that we have 3 former internationals who are all very high profile. Chatty was obviously the first one. Grant, the second one. It's good to have Grant here tonight. We're not quite sure what the third one is. But it's he's up in Napier. It's so across 50 odd years, and I don't think most people comprehend what playing still meant to Chatty. And I've got to sort of reminder or realisation of this at Christmas time. I got the call from Chatty to tell me that he was going to stop playing and finish up in January. And the emotional conversation, or the emotion in that conversation was something I'll remember, and it kind of brought home what it meant to him to still be playing the game at 68. And then watching him turn up and tell his beloved one-day teammates on I think it was the 26th of January, and then announce it in the club rooms here that night. It was quite hard to watch, and it left a lump in the throat and a bit of a tear in the eye. So I think it's that sort of, it runs deep, and I don't think you can even describe what that means. But what a way to celebrate 51 years, than tonight, with your family, with your friends and fans. In addition to tonight, the club has really probably, think about it, 3 gifts for Chatty. When he announced he was going to retire, we contacted New Zealand Cricket and asked them if they would recognise his 51 years of local commitment in some shape or form. And I'm kind of pleased to let you know and encourage you to watch the Cricket Awards on Thursday night. They'll be live on Sky. And Chats will be there with his family, and he's going to receive the Bert Sutcliffe Medal for outstanding services to cricket. I know it's going to be a proud moment for you and your family, and it's going to be a very proud moment for this club. Second thing is we've commenced lobbying the council to try and rename this park, Ewan Chatfield Park. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but we've started the conversation, and we'll keep trying to push that one, because I think there's no better way of acknowledging the statistics, the number of balls and overs bowled, and the contribution to this community. And we have a small gift for you tonight. We've had a personalised honours board made. As you can see, the impact on our honours board that Chatty's had over his career will never be repeated. So we've had his own honours board made, which replicates all of the entries up there, his representative honours and all his 7 fizz and 50 odd wickets this season, or 40 in the old days. So we'd like to present this to you for... So in closing, whilst you have retired from playing, you are still the 90 Express. You're still our patron. and we're sure that we'll still see plenty of you. So thank you for everything, Ewan. Enjoy your cricketing retirement.
All right, well, we're just about done, but we do need to let you have the final say, Chats. So the floor is yours, my friend.
Right, so I think I just want to make a few thank yous really, and the first one is to thank all you guys for turning up today, for you know, to make this night you know, something that I'll remember for the rest of my life. Geez, I hope I can keep it together. And I mean, there was a few people that couldn't come that have sent me emails. You know, Barry Coley sent me a book. Saying how sorry that he hadn't been in touch with me, but he was having New Zealanders to stay in Melbourne. You know, I went round and saw Gary Murphy the other day for about an hour and a half. He only lives 100 yards from us, but it's the first time I've seen him since the 40 years. He can't be here because he's got a men's weekend. I don't know what that quite means. It's not a boys' weekend, it's a men's weekend. So, you know, at 60 odd, I don't know what that means. Ian Taylor, unfortunately, is overseas somewhere, but he sent me a nice little email as well. So, you know, just thank you for making the time and effort to come here. And I mean, I've tried to, well, Aaron, and I must say a big thanks to Aaron, because it was all right for me to pick names, but to try and find them is another story. And as I'm as good as tits on a bull with computers, it was up to Aaron to try and find all these people, and he's done a magnificent job in doing that. So thank you, Aaron. In the small committee that you had to set up tonight, at least we're well on the way now. As I think it's been mentioned that the club is 75 years old. In a couple of years' time, well, we've got a good database start already. So it'll be up to you guys when you get the email about the Jubilee. Then the people that you know that we haven't got, it's up to you to send it to whoever sends it out. So that we can cover the field a bit more, and we'll try and give everybody a little bit longer notice so that they can, you know, for people that are overseas, that can come and celebrate the 75 years, because a lot of us won't be around for the 100. Right, Jason, thank you very much for tonight, mate. It's been a pleasure, and you know, it's nice to get a professional guy to come in and organise these fellas. Because at times they can take a bit of organising. Yeah. Now, everybody here, thank you for being part of my life for the last 50 years. One way or another, you've been either a player, you know, a teammate, in opposition, or as we've got with Tails, the team managers, probably the two difficult countries in the world, with Pakistan and our first big 4 months in Australia in 80-81. Thank you, Tails, for that. And at the moment we're going through a process of trying to organise a Boxing Day reunion for the 80-81 team in Melbourne this year, so we're hoping that will go through, and we're well on the way to it. Also, last of all, I'd just like to thank sorry.
Good idea, mate.
Right, Lynn and Richard and Vanessa for for allowing me to play this game. It was a passion of mine. I mean, from from where I started on the farm. I mean, I don't know really why I started playing cricket. It's just one of those things that I used to listen to all the games and sit in the orchard because it was foot rotting time at that stage for the non-farmers. It's when you get all your sheep in and clip their toenails and put the, you know, if the feet aren't looking too good, you put stuff on it to heal it up and all that. And it only needed Dad who did all the clipping and one other brother, Gavin, and so I was only useful when we needed to bring some more in and take some more out. So I used to sit in the orchard because Mum hated the game. I'd flog her a radio and go and listen in the orchard to all the Plunkett Shield games, not ever dreaming that, you know, I'd be in this position 56, 57 years later. But, you know, thank you to them for allowing me to do this. And thank you for all you guys. It's been great. And I'm not quite sure, were you all guys invited to a farewell thing? Well, you must know something more than I do, because farewell means that I'm going somewhere. And I'm not sure where I'm going to. Yeah, what I end up doing, I don't know. It definitely won't be playing, and if it hadn't been for the Masters tournaments that the New Zealand Cricket Players Association ran every year in Queenstown, or getting involved in the over 60s movement way back in the early 60s, early 2000s, when I used to go to Australia with the Fingal Toads from Auckland. It's now we've got our own over 60s competition, and we select a proper New Zealand over 60s team, and they get invited to go and play in the state over 60s. And you know, I went last year in November and played. We were lucky enough we won the grade. Our batting was stronger than anybody else's batting. The bowling wasn't, you know, we got away with it. But we won the grade. We're going up to Division 1 this year, and I just thought that, you know, it's different now. Trying a 69-year-old, which I would have been then, competing against a 60-year-old is a lot harder than a 29-year-old competing against a 20-year-old. So I, actual fact, didn't pick myself and two other guys that were in the team, in my team, to go to Australia this year. I retired before I could get dropped. The other two guys, didn't get picked. So my team was probably okay, and most of the guys that played last year would go. So I just wish them good luck. And thanks to Grant and to Dave Hale, Grant Baker and Dave Hale, for they've been mixed up with the Wellington over 60s for the last 4 or 5 years that we've been running the competition in Batoni. Always wanted to play in over 70s, but you know, that's another 18 months away, and I didn't, you know, whether it's the right thing or not the thing, I've always set myself a standard that I wanted to play for, play to, and I felt that this year in Australia I didn't quite do that. I thought I'd done enough training and enough practice, but it just didn't work for me, so that's right. But I did enjoy playing with the 1A side for the last 15 years. And Ray, was Ray? Well, my first captain. No, I thought he was on the list, but anyway. And the guys I've played with for the last few years here, I've enjoyed that. But it just I got to the stage where, you know, I don't like getting hit over the boundary too often these days. And so, you know, that was it. I came home from Australia, and I had a little operation on my hand, and I didn't miss the game at all. And so I thought, well, you know, that's telling me something. So here I am, finished. And I mean finished. They're talking about trying to get me back to the over 70s, but that will not happen. I tell you, that will not happen. All right, so just thank you for everybody. Enjoy the rest of the night. Thank you.
Could I get you all to charge your glasses, please, as we drink a toast to Chats. Thanks everyone for coming along tonight. I do have to thank the committee led by Aaron Clee and including Steve Gutteridge, Paul Freeman, Fraser Thackeray and Barry Smith. Thanks to the volunteers who looked after the bar and the food tonight. As Ewan said, the club looks forward to seeing you in 2021 for the club's 75th Jubilee. Please feel free to stay and enjoy the hospitality. I hear that the 40 years you're still going at 3 in the morning, so whether that's changed, I guess we're about to find out. It's been a great pleasure and privilege to be here, folks. Enjoy the rest of the night. Good night.
You know